Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome, folks, to The Hungry Gamer is back with another mini preview. And today we're talking about Mischief from Dan Kasser and published by Dream Cult Games. And this is a quick, simple, I'm going to call it a set collection drafting style game. It's very hard to describe what this game is, but well, I'm going to do my best. And what's going to happen in this game is you have been invited to the wedding of the Fae court. And what's happening is each side, the light and the dark, have been invited and set up at different tables, which are kind of the different suits. So for example, at one table you have the gnomes and the ogres. And each table has, similar pairings as you go down. And what's going to happen is, on each turn, you're going to wind up drafting one card from the tableau, the market that's available, and playing a card at one of the tables. And when you play a card, it's very simple. You will either play a light card, like this gnome card right here. You'll see they all have a value. Or you'll play a dark card, like this ogre card right here. And again, you can see the number value of each one. And you'll play it on their side of the table. And what's going to happen is, as you're playing through, you're playing out your cards. If you play a 1 or a 5, you'll actually get to place another card option out in the market, thus giving you more choices of what to... So you can pick something that's better for you, you can draft into your hand and then discard something. But for the most part, what you're doing is, you're simply trying to establish which of the different tables is dominant, which faction, the light or the dark at each one. So at the end of the game, whoever has more power, which is literally just adding up the numbers of the cards there. So if there's a 2, 3, and a 4, then that's going to be a total of 9 power on the one side. But kind of the catch here is there's two things that you're able to do as you're playing. You can do a prank, and one side of the table can prank the other side of the table. And keep in mind, there are multiple tables going at the same time. And if you successfully prank the other side, then they're going to be embarrassed and they're going to leave. And it's very simple on how you do that. If there is a 3 on one side of the table, if I play the exact same value on my side of the table, then the other side, they will be pranked, embarrassed, and they will leave. And when I do that, I will get to claim the tragedy mask from the middle of the table. And if I'm able to prank you again before you were able to prank me at that table, I will flip it over and it will become locked, meaning I cannot lose it and I will get those points. However, if you prank me before I can prank you a second time, then you will take it from me. And that seems simple enough, but you can also protect the different characters, and then you can also protect various cards. So if there has been, say, a 5 played on one side of the table, well, the other side could play a 5 also and prank that card and off it goes. But if I play a 4 next to it, now that 5 has been protected. And when that happens, you get to grab a friendship token for that side of the table. And again, if you protect another card on that side, you'll be able to flip it over, it'll be worth more points, and it cannot be taken from you. And you're doing that at 4, 5, or 6 tables as you're playing through the game. And so you're kind of just going back and forth. You're protecting and pranking and trying to establish this dominance, kind of almost like an area control at all of these tables. Then, towards the end of the game, when you have 5 cards left in your hand, both sides will take one card, they'll burn it, it'll be out of the game, and then you'll have 4 cards left. And what's going to happen is you will look at and tabulate all of the tables, the power, which side is winning. And it could be it's tied, one side could be winning, one or the other side can be winning. And then you will play out your remaining 4 cards, and each side that will adjust the power levels of each table. And this is where it gets a little bit wacky, and I mean that in a good way. What's going to happen now is, if the dominance of the table remains the same, it does not change. If it was tied, it remains tied. If, say, the ogres were winning and they're still winning, it becomes a dance. You get to dance with the fairy queen. And then, in that case, whoever played the lowest card at the end is going to wind up getting points for that. However, if the dominance switches, then you'll receive points for the highest card that you played in that final play. And you're going to do that for each table, for all the cards that you played, and you'll get points for winning tables like that, and you'll get points for the various tokens that you have picked up during the game. and highest points is going to win. So what do I like about this game? First, I really do like the artwork, and I'll say that these are prototype cards, and some of the different suits weren't really ready yet, so I just picked the ogres and gnomes to showcase. It's actually also why I didn't showcase a whole setup of how the game is played, just because a lot of the art isn't there and the contrast isn't there yet. But the art is delightful. So looking at this 4 ogre, like, I love that he's just sitting on that gnome there. It's just a delight. It makes me smile. I love just kind of the look of these fairy tale creatures. And we'll kind of check out this other one here, which is the light side card. And again, now the gnomes are getting the upper hand in this dinner with the ogres. And again, all of the art is like that. It's just this lovely kind of old school fairy tale vibe that I just think really, really works well, and I'm just a huge, huge fan of it. I also like how it is a simple game to play. You're playing a card, you're picking up a card, and that's all you're doing. But this balance between trying to protect or trying to prank has so many layers to it. Because one, okay, if I can do a prank twice before you can do a prank, then I'm going to get to hold on to those points for the rest of the game. Also, by doing a prank, I'm getting rid of a card that's changing the balance. Then, of course, at the end of the game, it's looking, okay, well, do I think that they can possibly flip the balance here? I'm not sure. Some cards, because there are a few cards that are out of the game, and so I don't know if they're there. I don't know if they could have those cards to play, but the other players that are around the table. And so there's all these things that you're thinking about as you're trying to figure out which side you want to be dominant. Because again, depending if the dominance flips at the end, you're going to get points for either the highest or the lowest card that you've played. And so misreading the table can just be crushing as you're going through, and I think that's what makes this game particularly work. So what are my quibbles with the game? Well, at the end of the day, this is a game that it can go all wrong for you. You can just get crushed if you're unable to kind of read the probabilities around the table. I think this game, more than many other games in a box this small, you really have to understand, well, there's a good likelihood that this is out there, which means if I play this now, that's putting me in danger of being pranked or putting me in danger of losing the dominance or it's flipping or whatever. And there's a lot of places that you can go wrong in a relatively simple game. And so even though it's a simple game to play, and there's not a lot of rules for you to have to learn, the complexity is significantly higher than you think it is. And that could be frustrating if you just want to get a little gameplay, go dancing with fairies and things like that. I also think that some people might be a little bit frustrated by the kind of tug of war of the prank and the friendship tiles. I think it's kind of clever myself of you don't want to kind of trigger that until you know you have a good chance of holding on to it. But if you're playing at a larger player count, that token might just be bouncing all around the table and you don't get a chance to kind of hold it. Sometimes it kind of turns into this positive hot potato that you're playing with. And that brings me to the only other thing I want to point out as a quibble. I think this game plays drastically differently at 2 players than it does to other player counts. The head-to-head in this game is so very different because it's just very clear, if I don't have the cards, then you have the cards. And of course you're drawing cards as you go, and there's some out there and you're taking cards, putting them down, picking them up. But in general, that's what's going on. And yes, at the end of the game, you're each going to burn 1 card, but that is what you know when you play 2 players. When you get more players, then it's, well, I have no idea who has the card. So if I don't have it, yes, in theory, the card's probably out there somewhere, but is that player going to want to play it is no longer so certain, whereas you're playing head-to-head, it's more of a thing that you can kind of figure out. And so I think it's a significantly more interesting game at the higher player counts. But there you have it, folks. That is Mischief. This is one that I didn't know what to expect, and when it was described to me pre-Gen Con, I was like, I don't know. But then when I sat down and played, the designer was kind enough to play with me at Gen Con, I really grasped it. This is one of those games that I just had to play to get. And once I played it, I'm like, oh, I get it. I see why this is clever. I see why this is interesting. And for me, a game that is that clever. It's not like anything else that I have and is in such a small box. I adore that. And my understanding is You can even get it in a smaller box than this, which I think is just fantastic and really is awesome. But there you have it, folks. That is Mischief. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, share, maybe become a channel member. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.